Wednesday morning. Yes, the football season rolls on, despite no more Aaron Rodgers for the Jets and the Giants getting shellacked against the Dallas Cowboys. We still have a football season to get through. It did not end on Monday night. It did not end on Sunday night. And yesterday, listening to all the Jets fans, which I believe were going through the 7 stages of grief. Are you familiar with the 7 stages of grief there, Boomer?
Yes.
All right, so the 7 stages of grief. The first is denial, and the second is anger. And it seemed to me like Joe Benigno and Evan Roberts were in denial, and Brandon Tierney went from denial into anger. So then we're going to get bargaining, then depression, then acceptance and hope, and then processing grief throughout the rest of the week. So what I was hearing yesterday was one of 2 things. And yes, this business and sports and the first take culture, everything is black and white, and I understand why. But you had 2 camps. You had the season is over, and you had the season isn't over camps. Well, really, the answer is that it's in the middle. The season is not over. They have a chance to have a good season. They still very well may go to the playoffs. They might win the division, but their hope this year was to be in and win the Super Bowl, something we had talked about being out in Vegas, and hopefully the Jets being there. And with Zach Wilson, that can't happen. That is the... That is the landing spot of the crazy Jets helicopter that I think was missed yesterday. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Hey, good morning. It was a little bit crazy around here yesterday. Certainly yesterday morning when we got here, the morale was low. You could feel it. And I think for most sports fans in New York, given what happened with the baseball teams and now what happens with Aaron Rodgers, we're all feeling the same thing. That's basically
like a loser.
I mean, remember when he walked in here yesterday?
Yeah, he
looked like a loser.
Right. I mean, it's funny. He had the denial thing going on, and then he went into anger, like the 7 stages of grief. But he did look like he had the hood up. His eyes were half open. He's like, I'm done. He's like, I'm done. I can't do it, man. Can't do it anymore. I'm done. And then all of a sudden,
it was nuts. It was nuts.
I was scared.
Just like you thought it was going to be. I thought there was going to be workplace violence.
Yeah.
I really did. And, when you start thinking about it and you're able to come to work and you get to talk into one of these microphones and you are upset.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought maybe Spike or Olive, the architect, somebody was going to think about maybe an intervention.
Yeah, and if you're watching that video of Brandon Tierney screaming, you get Sal Licata's face, which I screenshotted and texted to him and just said, LOL. You've got Sal Licata's face looking at Brandon like, what the hell is going on? That's sort of like Ted Bundy reading about Jeffrey Dahmer going, that guy's nuts.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It was unbelievable. Walking around like a loser. But I'm proud of the Jets fan yesterday for being positive and having their quarterbacks back. I am proud of them for that. Those who did. The Joe Beningos, the Evan Roberts, the Brandon Tierneys. That's what you should do. But let's not forget that everything that we talked about leading into the season, how Aaron Rodgers is going to change the culture and the veteran quarterback, this is a great team with a bad quarterback situation, and with him they're going to do great things and all of these things, that evaporated. It just did. So I'm still going to be rooting like hell for the Jets to be relevant and good and get to the playoffs, and it would be a great story if Zach Wilson turned out to be the player that Joe Douglas thought he was getting when he drafted him number 2 overall. I just don't think he can play. And there's a couple of things that could help him. 2 big things, as we mentioned yesterday, Nathaniel Hackett and Aaron Rodgers' presence that maybe brings something out of him. But when you're talking about all of these things, these outside things that could help a guy in year 3, chances are he's not good enough himself to get it done. If playoffs! And then when he, in the middle of that thing, too, I don't know if Eddie has it, he's like, I got Zach's back. I got it. I got Zach's back.
So after 9 wins last year, they were 6-3. Of those 6-3 wins, Zach Wilson as starting quarterback was 5-1. Now, that wasn't great numbers, but they were 5-1 with Zach Wilson as the starting quarterback, and everybody tends to forget that. And if it weren't for I think it was a blown call. If you remember, there was either an interception return for a touchdown against the Patriots that got called back. You remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. I mean, that was the game where they ended up losing on the punt return, right?
Right. Yeah, I think it was. And, it was that play right there. They were all over the Patriots. Mac Jones, I think it was called roughing the passer, I think.
Yeah, there was that too. Yeah.
I forget, but there was a pick six.
Yeah.
And all I know is that from that moment on, things changed for the Jets. And it changed for Zach Wilson. And, he threw the 3 interceptions in that game, 2 of which were just horrendous. They were kind of like Josh Allen interceptions in week 1 against the Jets this year.
Yeah.
So I know that you're not a fan of Zach. I understand that. But it just, in reality, when it comes to the NFL and it comes to facing adversity and it comes to facing injuries, there's very little you can do other than use the players you have on your roster. Because the players that are out there, there's a reason why they are out there and available is because they haven't made it. And like I told you yesterday, Zach's getting a third opportunity here, which is usually unheard of. And he is inheriting a very good team. And there are things that they have to really work on, and I'm sure they had been working on to get him away from doing stupid things and getting himself in bad situations and bad decisions in the middle of the game. But there are times when he throws the ball, man, you could see the arm strength.
Yeah, I mean, we saw
and you
that.
could see the accuracy.
Accuracy.
Well,
very
now better.
rarely.
It's much better. It's much better than it was last year. He hasn't thrown a ball into the ground yet.
He has not.
He hasn't. Look, he throws that ball to Lazard. It's a rip that rips right off of his chest. He throws a nice little in between safety corner to Garrett Wilson. He's got to go down and make the play, but it's the best place to throw the ball so the wide receiver can make the play. He comes flipping out of the pocket, almost tripping, and finds, I think it's either Conklin or Uzama. But it's a work in progress, and it's unfortunate that Jet fans have to go through this. But at the end of the day, the Jets really have no other place to turn. I'm just telling you that.
Yeah, I mean, and right now that is the case. I mean, they might get desperate at some point if he falls off a cliff again like he did last year. And it's funny because you say you tend to forget that the Jets were 5-1 with Zach Wilson as a starter. I think some people tend to forget how bad it got at the end of the season for him. They didn't even dress him.
Well, it got really bad.
Dress him.
The worst part of it was the New England game at New England and the response after that game.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately was his immaturity and his downfall last year. And you would like to think that, this whole offseason and especially during the OTAs and then watching, Aaron Rodgers in a meeting and watching the discussion going back and forth with Nathaniel Hackett, which you brought up yesterday, which is a feather in the cap of the Jets, that they actually do have a legitimate offensive coordinator who's been around.
Yeah.
Now, he's had his most success with Aaron Rodgers because Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Fame player, and he does things that you really can't coach. And one of those things you can't coach is what he did yesterday on Monday night, that ultimately got him hurt. He holds on to the ball, and ends up getting sacked and gets hurt. And, and I know a lot of players around the league and ex-players around the league, especially newly ex-players around the league, are blaming the field and the whole thing. One guy got hurt in the field. And he got hurt in the field because he held onto the ball and his foot got stuck underneath him. And, these defensive linemen, this is how they tackle you. They want to tackle you. I mean, they want to leave a mark. If they can knock you out of the game, all the better for them because that's what their job is, to hit you hard and intimidate you. And then they try to, twist and turn and everything else, maybe twist an ankle. Who knows if you're going to pop an Achilles. But Aaron also went into this game, and everybody tends to forget, with a calf injury that he suffered in OTAs.
Yeah, that's right.
Is definitely a part of this.
Yeah, and Rob Saleh said yesterday, he said, I don't know why everybody's trying to put an obituary under our name, and it's not so much an obituary for the season or obituary about them going to the playoffs, but the reason why everybody's putting an obituary under your name is because you told us you needed a quarterback that was better than Zach Wilson to get to the next level and try to win a championship. You told us that by your actions. You told us that by your words. I saw it on your face when he came off the field. And I know that as a coach, he's got to say these things, but you're the organization with your actions and your words told us that you needed Aaron Rodgers to take the next step because the guy you drafted wasn't good enough. And not for just 1 year. You were talking about 2 years, maybe 3. And now he's gone. That's it for this year. So that's why people are saying that, because of what you did. And I just did. In this conference, you have to have a special person playing quarterback. I don't care how good your defense is. I don't care how good your running game is. None of that matters when you're getting into the divisional round and the AFC Championship game. In this conference, you're going up against the best of the best, and it's getting better. Justin Herbert's going to be better. Tua is getting better. Kenny Pickett, although he was horrible, is getting better. Deshaun Watson had a good first week. It's just getting better. And then you got the top of the top. You got the 2 best quarterbacks in football, and Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes. So, yeah, you might have a nice season. Maybe you get to the playoffs, like Brandon Tierney said, with playoffs with Zach. Fine, but that's not what this year was supposed to be about. And Zach Wilson in those games will not be able to compete with those guys. He won't be able to do it.
He better be able to compete with those guys.
He can't, man. And, you know that. He can't compete with Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Tua, and Justin Herbert. He can't.
Well,
he can't.
Brandon has Zach's back.
Yeah, I know. I heard.
And, by the way, they won a game against one of the best teams in the conference, one of the best teams in the division that they're going to be fighting for the division. And they won the freaking game.
They did. It was a great win for them.
And it was just amazing that they were able to overcome the loss of such a personality and this whole media-driven narrative that they were going to go to the Super Bowl. Hell, I thought they were going to go to the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers.
It wasn't media-driven. It was driven by them, too.
Well, I mean, but
Aaron Rodgers said it in his first press conference. That Super Bowl III trophy looks kind of lonely. He said just a week ago there's about 6 to 12 teams that can win a Super Bowl, and we're one of those teams. It wasn't media-driven. They were driving it. I mean, so this is why it's just so funny to me that when things don't go their way, all of a sudden they're blaming the media for being negative about it. You're the ones who told us you needed the guy.
Do you know how many teams have actually gone on to win the Super Bowl after losing their starting quarterback?
Well,
no,
yeah.
I just don't know if there's
Philadelphia Eagles and Nick Foles.
I don't think the discrepancy is as
Giants, Jeff Hostetler.
Yeah, I don't think. I just asked you, do you know how many teams?
Yeah. Well, we're kind of naming.
Oh, I see.
Dolphins. Greasy got his leg broken, but then he came back.
I just don't necessarily know that has been such a discrepancy between the starter who went down and then the guy who was taking over.
Yes, that is true. That has never. Yeah. I mean, I can't. Carson Wentz and Nick Foles. Carson Wentz was on his way to be an MVP that year before he got hurt.
Plunkett, Pastorini
and Plunkett.
Hostetler, Sims. How about Kurt Warner replaces Trent Green?
Yeah, but we didn't know how good Kurt Warner was at that point. He ended up being a Hall of Famer. I mean,
how about Tom Brady, who replaces Drew Bledsoe?
Yeah, okay. He's the all-time.
Yeah, but who knew? I mean, this was like a
Tom Brady hadn't played
pick
before at that point. That's the thing. And Kurt Warner, we saw it right away. When he got in that first game and he was spinning the ball around in his hands like he'd been there forever and throwing touchdown passes to Torrey Holt immediately. You were like, what? Zach Wilson, we've seen for 2 years throwing a ball into the ground like he's skipping rocks in a pond, and we're going, what? In a different way. So all those Tom Brady comes in, wins a Super Bowl right away, and then goes on to be the greatest player. So you could say we didn't know at that time, but you knew sooner. I mean, there was a discussion at that point, like who was going to play in the AFC Championship game, who was going to play in the Super Bowl right away.
But Plunkett struggled early in his career.
So just so you know, that's right.
And
that's
Warner
exactly
was
right.
bagging groceries.
So the total of seven teams that fit in that category, by the way.
But when Kurt Warner got in after the Trent Green injury, he immediately took the NFL by storm. You knew right. No one knew who he was. Then he got in there and greatest show on turf. Zach Wilson,
Well, Plunkett was bad.
Yeah, all right, so here we go. We're talking about Jim Plunkett before I was born. This is what I'm talking about.
But it's happened. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's going to happen this year, but I'm saying it's happened.
Someone also has been killed by lightning. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it could happen again.
Right. So I was
Why would
legitimately
you tap
frightened.
out? Why would you tap out
No,
anyway?
you can't tap out.
You want it all.
Right, you can't. But it's just
Good for him.
The idea, you just can't go into this year thinking you're going to win a championship now. Like this, like for Joe Benigno, this is why the Joe Benigno denial 7 stages of grief thing was perfect, because yesterday's like, I feel good, bro. I feel good. Stop. All I heard from him his entire life is, I'm going to die before there's a Super Bowl, another Super Bowl. I'm going to be dead. Bet the Jets after I die because that's when they're going to win. And I need the Super Bowl. You better win this year, bro. You better win. He golfs with Rob Sala, right?
Yeah,
You got
what
pressure on you. This is the year. You better do it. You got your quarterback, blah, blah, blah. Then the guy, his Achilles is rolled up into his friggin' calf on the 4th play, and you got the little schmuck kid coming in to take over, and Joe's like, I feel good. No, you don't. You don't feel good, man. Stop it. Stop. What are you talking about? You guys are lost. And by the way, all right, the Bills get the ball in overtime. Let's say they go down and score. I know they didn't, but let's say they do. How's everybody feeling then?
I really like crap.
Yes. So I don't know.
And by the way, like my buddy Wayne Fiddleman over there at CBS reminds me.
I love the Fiddleman.
The Fiddleman. Chiefs, Bengals, Bills combined 0-3. Combined for 3 TDs, 6 field goals, and 39 total points.
Yeah, it was bad for those top teams.
I mean, the first month of the season is basically what preseason is turning into.
Yeah, it's true.
So everybody's got to just relax. I mean, the Giants got waxed on Sunday night.
Yeah, I know.
The Jets come back somehow improbably and win a game against one of the top quarterbacks in the league and one of the better teams in the league over the last 3 years. I mean, it was remarkable. When you really think about their performance and how they played in light of them losing the Messiah. They lost the Messiah, and they still came back and won. Hey, that's what I'm talking about.
But you know how, like, a chicken can get its head cut off and then walk around a little bit before it dies? You know what I'm saying?
So you're telling me the Jets are a chicken?
No, what I'm saying is that, like, initially when something happens like that, like, you have a little bit of adrenaline.
No, it usually goes the other way. It goes the other way. Just naturally goes the other way. I'm telling you, especially when it's such a personality and such a big personality as Aaron is. I mean, normally you would fall flat. Now, I don't know what's going to happen this week when they go to Dallas.
I do.
This will be it. It's going to be interesting.
Listen, I think the defense will play really, really well, and I think Zach is going to have big problems. I think that he's going to be under serious duress, and he's going to make a lot of mistakes. That's what I think is going to happen.
Make a lot of errors.
You make a lot of errors, man. That's going to be Nathaniel Hackett in the film study on Tuesday or Monday. You make a lot of errors, man. All right, Boomer and Gio on the Fan and CBS Sports Network.